Hello and welcome back to That British Homestead. My name's Nick, and if you're new here, go ahead and subscribe. And it's very nice to meet you. And if you're back, it's lovely to see you again. So today I thought I'd take you through like a day at the allotment. So I came down and I always have a couple of jobs in my head that I need to be doing. I'm kind of like really strict with them, and I don't go home until I've done the jobs that I really wanted to do. One of them is to sow out some of this Chinese cabbage. Chinese cabbage is a cabbage from China, obviously. And it is really good for things like kimchi, etc. So here I've got some carrots that I've been sown and come through, but not very many of them come through because I'm a little bit useless when it comes to carrots. So I thought I would basically oversow some of the Chinese cabbages. I've got quite a few of them because I got really frustrated, and I basically put absolutely tons in, which is awesome because I love the stuff. So it's going to go quite well here. So what I'm going to do is just put them about a foot apart. This is a horse manure bed. It's just simply horse manure over cardboard, and I'm going to convert most of my allotment into this. It really helps with all annual weeds, but perennial weeds are still an issue. As you see, I'm going through this, and I have pulled some of the weeds already, but I am pulling some of the stinging nettles, bindweeds and docks up as well. To be honest, this particular horse manure doesn't seem to have very many weed seeds in it. I don't know if that's just normal for horse manure, or it's just this one. It is the perennial weeds that grow up through or out somewhere else, you see what I mean, and go into the compost. It's really fertile. So that is one of those things that is good, obviously, but also can be an issue. Another thing I'm growing in this bed is some sweet potato squashes, which is a winter squash. I thought it was really cool to try, but I thought a more integrated system where I'm growing loads of different things would be a really cool idea. I've also got some some lettuces here. The lettuces have gone to seed because it was a little bit warm. It is August. This is August 7th when I was filming this yesterday. So yeah, I thought it was a really good idea to go ahead and put these in. It seems like the pigeons have no interest in these Chinese cabbages, which is exciting for me, so I won't have to net them. And I haven't had any issue from cabbage whites with them, which is really exciting too. Of course, by the time I go back down there, I might have issues, and I go ahead and net them if I do. But so far, so good. It could be because I've interplanted them so well, and the pests simply don't know where they are. So that would be exciting if they are. But I've got some Chinese cabbages in this bed already, and they haven't been eaten by birds. They've had a little bit of slug damage, but that's about it, which is exciting. What I'm going to do is basically just pull up these bolting lettuces, which are an absolute fantastic treat for my chickens. I just put them in bodily into the coop, and they go ahead and eat the leaves and the flower stalks and stuff like that. They absolutely love it. And put in some more of these Chinese cabbages. As you can see, I started quite a few. My idea, or my evil scheme I could say, is to make a load of kimchi at the end of the season, which would be really exciting if I'm able to do that, because I absolutely adore it. We like a little bit of oriental cooking every so often, and when I make like Chinese soups and things like that, I really enjoy having the kimchi as an addition to that, or in stir fries, etc., or even in sandwiches. That stuff is so good. It's good in everything, and it's so full of flavour. So hopefully I will be able to get some of those, as these have been sown for a little while now, and they're looking super healthy and super exciting to keep. So we will see about that. And as it gets down to the colder bit of the season, I might just go ahead and throw a frost cloth and make sure they ripen up really well. And hopefully by September I'll have a load of Chinese cabbages that I can enjoy. I am pretty much the only one who eats the Chinese cabbage because it's very spicy when you turn it into kimchi, and my fellow room people don't like it. My family aren't that fond of having spicy food, but it is really good for your microbiome, and hopefully in a future episode I'll be able to show you how I make kimchi. which would be really, really nice. But I'm super excited about how this is kind of turning out. I'm getting to the point where everything's kind of like popping now. This allotment looks amazing. I'm really proud of how it looks at the moment, and I am harvesting here a giant beetroot. I was really happy with that. I do the multi-sown beetroot, put my teeth back in. So that basically means that I go ahead and sow 3 or 4 in a row, and then I go ahead and pull them out one by one, whichever's biggest. Now, these here are a type of herb. They are called marshmallow. You've probably heard of marshmallows, as in the thing that you put on sticks over a open fire. Yes, marshmallows used to be made with a plant called marshmallow. These are a fantastic herb that is full of fantastic things for you. Now, marshmallow roots are fantastic for many ailments like coughs, skin irritation, digestive problems and ulcers, etc. And you can basically take the root and grind it into a powder, or make it into a tea, or into a cough syrup. So as I'm getting older, I am getting more and more interested in medicinal herbs. So this will be a perennial bed, and it will be really exciting having this as a kind of go-to bed, as a medicine cabinet, so that I can have things like cough medicines that I make from scratch myself. So also, I know my daughter is really looking forward to having homemade marshmallows with the active ingredient in there, and I think that would be a nice addition to the medicines that we do make ourselves. So I think that would be quite exciting anyway. Now, marshmallow is one of those herbs that's not really that well known, and it's no longer used in the marshmallows that we know and love, because it's been exchanged from a different ingredient. But it does take 3 years to get the marshmallow to harvest. Now, I've already got black licorice, so that also takes 3 years. I've got 2 licorice plants. I've got several of these marshmallow plants, on the basis that I did read it was quite hard to germinate and grow these. However, I have to say that as soon as I germinated them, like loads of them came. I kept them in the fridge for 3 months, and then I went ahead and put them in water, let them stay in water for 24 hours. Then I drained the water and sprouted them onto a towel, a paper towel or kitchen roll, depending on where you come from. And then after I did that, I went ahead and put them in soil, and they grew beautifully after they sprouted, which is super exciting. Now, you can have too much of a good thing, and there is a risk of side effects, and people that are intolerant to the marshmallow root, and that can cause like dizziness and upset tummy. But obviously it's all about moderation. But I would be super excited to have this as an additional when I ever have tummy problems or anything like that. So it could be super, 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 super exciting. Apparently it does also help your thyroid function and help to boost your metabolism, which would be very, very exciting if I had a thyroid, which I don't. So that won't be a benefit that I can actually do anything about. It always makes me laugh when you're like, oh, eat this, it helps your thyroid. I was like, yeah, mine was removed, so it's not going to help mine. But it helps with coughs, like I said. It helps improve dry mouth if you have any dry mouth issues. I do when I get super nervous, like when you go for job interviews and stuff. Protects against stomach ulcers. Helps with like sunburn, eczema, etc. It helps to improve wounds, so you can actually speed up the healing of wounds. A bit like yarrow, I can never say that properly. Yarrow stops bleeding, so it's quite exciting. It also helps kill some types of bacteria, which is really cool, and help protect the throat from gastric reflux. So I had this quite a lot when I was pregnant, where I had like reflux. It was awful, and you do get that sort of sore throat from it. So it will be really exciting to have that. and to couple it with something like our local honey, etc. So if you're interested in medicinal herbs, perhaps that's something you'd be interested in too. I know I am, and I'm really excited. This part of the allotment is going to be our permaforest. So we've got things like little shrubs like these, marshmallows. We've got the trees, both dwarf and normal sized trees, and I'm going to go ahead and put some strawberries down here. Another thing I really needed to do is tackle this patch of weeds. Now, this patch of weeds has been like one of those things I've just put off, and I only have this one and one more patch of weeds that I need to tackle, but the other ones have so many bees in it that I kind of gave up when I went over there this time, because I'm not getting stung by bees. I actually don't want to be stung by bees, and there's loads of them. So it's a combination of perennial weeds here, and is stinging nettles and bindweed. Bindweed is a constant issue over the allotment. I feel like there's two things I'm super good at growing, and that's bindweed and stinging nettles. So I am clearing this little area, and I'm going to go ahead and put some black weed membrane down, because this area, it's like it's a small area but loads of weeds grow out of it, and I've kind of just been putting it off, prioritizing other projects. So it is just an eyesore, and like I said, it's like one of the only places that there is an eyesore still. So I thought that I'd go ahead and pull these and make sure that this area is all pretty and lovely, so that when you come over here you can see how much hard work I've done and not get the eye drawn to the weeds. So I'm going to go ahead and pull these up. This part of the allotment, like I said, it is full. God, put my teeth back in. It's full of very, very small trees, so weeds like this will absolutely smother them if they get a little foothold in them. So I'm going to go through and just pull them up today and cover them with the woven mesh, which will be really cool, because then I won't have any issues. This is where I store my butts, water butts, for when it is a little bit too dry and we need a little bit of extra water, or when we are making teas or whatever. I have made a load of teas with stinging nettles, and I know that they're super beneficial, but to be honest, I get so many that I don't know what I would do with them. And I know people keep telling me that they are edible, and they are, and I applaud you if you do eat them. We choose not to, and I think that's more of a fact that I absolutely hate them, because they are continuously stinging me. I can't tell you how many times I got stung from this, and I keep saying to myself, right, you need to go get yourself a good pair of gardening gloves, and I had them, and I put them down, I can't find them. I also bought some the other day and left them at home, and I never remembered to bring them down the allotment because I took them out of my car. So it's one of those things, isn't it? It's just one of those things that when you are kind of like in the middle of life, you do forget sort of things you're meant to be doing. So if I take things out of my car, I never remember to put it back. You know what I mean? Life just gets in the way. But I'm be super excited to have this all cleared. I did see a rabbit in my other allotment the other day, and the thing is this is the perfect habitat for rabbits to just like chillax in. So if you remove more and more of this area where they can hide, the less likely they are to spend time on your allotment, on the basis that they're too worried about being seen by predators in the air or by people on the ground. So they tend to stay away from areas that have been cleared. Now, saying that, and I've read quite a lot about it, I do see about 30 of the rabbits over on the field where there's no cover. So take that all with a pinch of salt, obviously. But I do think that it would be a really good idea if I clear this area. It will reduce some of the habitat for these pests. Sadly, it also reduces the habitat for bugs and beetles and things like that, which we do want on the allotment, and that's why we have such large areas of wood chip. Now, the wood chips is such a good idea. If you walk over a wood chip over the allotment, you'll see about 6 trillion spiders skeletting away from you, and that basically means that you've got a really cool area for spiders to hang out, which is good because spiders kill invasive bugs and stuff like that, which will be killing your plants. So it is one of those things that you scratch their back and then they scratch yours. So I'm really excited about having that, and I know that the spiders will squeal over to the larger patches of wood chips, and we've grown a lot of potatoes in wood chip this year, which is a method, to be honest, I'm really enjoying, and it's made some absolute beautiful, really dark, really rich soil, which is really exciting. Now, what I'm going to be doing here by clearing this is also allowing more nutrients get into my butternut squash, my sweet potatoes. Now, it is funny because I always compare the bindweed to my sweet potatoes, and I'm like, why are you not growing this much? I actually thought that sweet potatoes would be like growing bindweed, like exploding everywhere, and then there'd be like a big tangle mess of bindweed, sort of like this, but they're not. They're quite slow growing. I don't know if it's just us in our English weather. I think next year I might grow them in a polytunnel or some sort of plastic, but at the moment they're just chillaxing, just being themselves and doing what they do best. But it would be nice if they kind of like produce something really good, like a few big tubers. But you don't know. It's one of those things. I've never grown them before. If you have grown sweet potatoes in the UK and you have any tips for me, please let me know down below, because I'd be super excited to have any tips and tricks, especially if you grew them outdoors without any plastic. That'd be really exciting. I have heard the black plastic really does help, so hopefully that's a thing that happens and I'm able to enjoy and see those grow. I'd be really happy if they did. Okay, so the last thing I did that day was harvest some potatoes. I have about half a bed left of potatoes to harvest. This, and then I've got one more bed of potatoes that are not quite finished. I do kind of want to get them up now because of the blight. It makes me a little bit, not uncomfortable, but a little bit worried that something could happen to my potatoes. I remember I waited too long last year and we had a big frost and I lost a load because they basically liquefied, and I don't want to do that again. So I'm trying to be a little bit more conscious with my harvest. My hori knife, obviously. And whilst I'm doing it, I've got 2 baskets. I've got one for the potatoes and I've got one for any weeds that I find, and all the weeds that I find are going into the burn pile because they tend to be dock roots, and they're going to be bindweed and stinging nettles. Basically, once again, the perennial weeds that are a bit of a pain in the bum. Now, I'm going to make sure that every bit that I find goes out. I'm going to dig for them, but I will be moving the wood chip with my hands, and you can really see how good this soil has become. And this is one of the reasons why I decided to move that patch of stinging nettles, because the stinging nettles are super good at spreading through this wood chip. So by tackling them at the source, it will really help me be able to not allow them to grow through this wood chip, which will be really beneficial. I'm not 100% sure what I'm going to do with this area now that it's clear. I might go ahead and plant out some of the little seedlings that I've planted yesterday. Or I'm going to go ahead and put some more Chinese cabbage in them. I'm not 100% sure yet. It's kind of like the world is my oyster on this one. Because of the wood chips broken down so much, you can go 100% go ahead and plant whatever you want in it, as long as it's not seed. And it really does help suppress the weeds and produce a lot of really nutrient rich compost. This is called the Back to Eden method, and I use a whole tree on there, meaning that it is not only wood, it's leaf, it's branches, etc., all mixed up together, which is really good. It helps it break down. If you just use wood chips will break down really slowly because they don't have enough green to brown ratio, but these ones break down super fast because of that, and they produce a lot of worm food. When you're going through this, I find tons and tons of weeds, yes, but tons and tons of worms as well. And I think that's one of the really exciting bits of finding that you are improving the soil by checking to see worms. It's kind of like one of those rule of thumbs. If you see lots of worms, then you have a living, breathing ecosystem. I found centipedes, I found worms, I found all sorts of creepy crawlies within this wood chip, which you just don't get in other parts of the allotment, which is really exciting. I do enjoy this method for growing potatoes, and we've had a fantastic potato year this year. We've already got about 30 kilos of potatoes at home, and I got about half a tray of potatoes from this bit of the allotment, which honestly was only about a quarter of a bed, so it's not very much to at all, about a row and a half. I haven't weighed them yet, but I'll probably upload a picture of them so that you can see how many I got from here. Sadly, the camera did die in a little while, which is such a shame because I didn't get to show you how I have finished up. But you can see that black plastic that I have put over that weedy bit of the allotment, which will help get rid of those perennial weeds. Now, with the plastic, this is actually woven mesh, it's not actually plastic at all, it's cotton. But as you cover it 3 weeks, and your stinging nettles will be pretty much a thing of the past, which will be exciting. And I think it's 3 months for the bindweed. We do have quite a significant issue with the old bindweed, so it's something that I have really done well to tackle. But it is also something that is a big issue when it comes to the gate that's between my two allotments. That is very challenging to get rid of because of the green plastic that is over there the previous allotment put on, and the issue with it is that it's actually woven into the fence with metal, so it is really difficult to get off. So I will be tackling that. My main priority though really is to have it removed from the allotment patches, and that will be another focus for next year. I think I've done a pretty decent job of tackling it this year. This is the most weed free this allotment's been in a very long time, so I'm super excited and proud about that. It's been a very, very rainy year as well, so it's been absolute dream when it comes to all of the weeds have absolutely boomed this year, which can be quite an issue, especially when you do no dig. If you are digging, I think you can just go ahead and hoe, etc., and it will be not so much of an issue where we're kind of stuck in situ and we've already piled up our organic matter for the year. So it would be nice if I can just keep going, plugging away at this, because you have to remember this is only the second season that I've had. Second real season, because I did get this in August, so I'm not counting that as a full season. But every time I pull one of these little bits of bindweed out is a piece of bindweed that cannot grow the next year, which is super exciting. And I am quite liking having that sort of pagan routine of setting fire to the bindweed and not having it again next year.